Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from medieval onomastic pedagogy, 12th century baptismal font registries, and historical character naming manuals, and plunge straight into the high-octane, calculation-heavy tracking grids of contemporary weird fiction anthologies, weaponized cosmic horror narrative deployment loops, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered collection of raw speculative literary assets running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, paranoia-slicked parameters of a scorched, high-density bi-monthly pulp fiction layout, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of a devastating, multi-authored Eldritch extraction matrix with Dark Horses, the magazine of weird fiction number 47, December 2025, the exceptional, pulse-pounding contemporary dark fantasy chronicle and comprehensive macabre guide engineered by the absolute undisputed global publishing sovereigns of breathtaking structural secrets, razor-sharp existential traps, and high-velocity relational friction, Wayne Kyle Spitzer, David Sheskin, Griffith Pound, and Jeff Seeman. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where an endangered primary creative anthology asset running an unyielding page count extraction loop, a calculating, manipulative shadow network of cosmic enforcers and sanity erasure shadows running an elite proximity tracking and standard sanity erasure routine, and an absolute defense against an encroaching cliché-confined narrative containment zone collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn creative journeys, where endangered, hyper-observant world-building protagonists must navigate an absolute maze of rigged pacing documentation, corrupt cosmic horror blueprints, and a deadly ring of active personal deadline frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised domestic ecosystem, where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated desk space boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner asset, weaponizing highly advanced digital distraction mechanics, and where the authors utilize an incandescent, meticulously paced weird fiction incubator tracking an aspiring anthologist who deploys advanced surrealist exercises and craft dossiers to systematically forge their first complete magazine before crossing a terminal submission milestone, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This volume is engineered to lock you in. This creative collective completely dominates the high-precision pedagogical jeopardy meets suffocating narrative erasure puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating blank-page paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre vargs like H.P. Lovecraft, Thomas Ligotti, Gillian Flynn, and Clive Barker, while treating realistic prose logistics, complex dark possessive loyalty arcs, and protective high-tensity isolation extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse creative assets, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of a total loss of editorial safety networks, absolute structural liquidation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within a cutthroat modern publishing matrix. Behind our protagonists' rigorous daily footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden structural vulnerabilities, deeply buried speculative storytelling instincts, and sharp high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Their collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following an abrupt plot outline deviation sequence, their entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from a network of internal distraction forces, parsing complex behavioral shifts in their daily plotting interaction loops, and shielding their vulnerable personal sovereignty node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleaning crew offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches their active scanning perimeter. While sorting through a series of blank document grids, our primary asset registers a total security breach when the issue's psychological onboarding sequence initializes an irregular descent into active bizarro prose logs, systematically tracking foundational pacing rules, cosmic scene construction grids, and character building files, forcing them into a proximity tracking matrix with an oncoming narrative resolution. Behind the weird fiction world's pristine, smooth aesthetic facade and elite behavioral mapping style lies an intricate matrix of severe ideological warfare and a cold, calculation-heavy target containment blueprint. As the hostile adversarial investigation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking clock timeline, the unauthorized discovery of missing narrative pacing templates, hidden structural motivations, and altered tracking logs reveals that their entire leisure sanctuary was an explicitly engineered trap. The standard boundaries of routine domestic courtesy and peaceful civilian compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active invisible war behind closed bedroom doors, where a highly manipulative psychological gaslighting matrix launches aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream and execute their complete systemic erasure. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active, transforming the large family living spaces, dark library corridors, and private fortified study rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroes are forced to deploy their massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve their focus before their adversary's relentless, calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes their boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, shifting dynamically through precise execution guidelines from initial paragraph construction to final structural manuscript release loops, determined to deploy deep sensory manipulation loops, continuous psychological gaslighting via digital distraction maneuvers, and persistent dominance to shatter their defense, only to realize their hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight archival excavation of personal legal journals, every silent choice to stand off against an electronic apex predator behind standard structural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at their reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as this masterclass anthology reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial week 1 ambush or managing an invasive friendship disclosure. It demands an absolute, uncompromised defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and absolute structural supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their building creative survival alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes production breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that deep-seated obsession has tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure their sanctuary, our resilient protagonists must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of their final boundary lines. It is a high-velocity creative writing, cosmic captivity noir, weird fiction mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one unsubverted plot hole triggers a fatal deadline showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. This creative team writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, fountain pen ink, heavy matte paper, typewriter ribbon, dark adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary instructional marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. Dark Horses, the magazine of weird fiction number 47, December 2025, is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.